please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer. Here. Trustee Carter.
Here.
Trustee Grant. Here. Trustee Tate. Trustee Todd. Here. Trustee Judy. Here.
Item number 1, the water billing mailing, presented by Seabrist.
Mayor, nice to see you again.
How you doing? That's good. Is your mic on? Should be.
Hi. I'm on. Okay. I'm Dave Brady. I'm with a company called Seabrist Direct. We're in Bedford Park, which is just down the road. We provide billing services for a number of suburban communities in the city of Chicago. We've been in business for 30 years. I think we're getting close to 31. Primarily doing document production. It's a highly secure and compliant environment. About half of our work is healthcare related. So when you work with Seabrist, you're getting a high level of security and integrity of the document process. We met with the mayor about a month ago, and Anthony, and we'd really like to do your bills for you. I have a sample bill that I'd like you to see. And I don't have a ton. I don't know what the normal process is.
Sure, this PowerPoint like this should go.
Let's see. And this is all a virtual document. We did use no pre-printed forms, which may or may not make a difference for you, but if you want to change anything on the document at any time, literally within a day or two notice, we can do so. So we switched over from a laser environment to an inkjet environment about 4 years ago. It's sort of the nature of the industry. Most of your credit card notices, actually almost all of your billing now comes in an inkjet format. We mail every day. We mail Saturday. We don't mail Sunday because the post office doesn't receive mail on Sunday. Some areas they do, but in Chicago you may not have noticed, but after the recession, the Postal Service, like a lot of other businesses, changed their method of doing business, and also about half of their first class mail dropped out of the system. In the past 12 years, it's been cut in half, and it'll probably drop again as time goes on. We also offer electronic billing, which we have not talked about as of yet with the city, but we'd love to do that for you as well when the time comes, and also we facilitate payments for clients. And it's a menu. We don't have a one-size-fits-all. It's really however you want to start and engage with us, and as far as you want to take it. Does anyone have any questions? And again, this is a working sample. It's not the finished product. We need to get a better copy of your logo, and I think we need to get some sample of the data feed so we can actually populate it with live data so it works as yours will.
You had mentioned back in your last presentation that, excuse me, that we would be able to advertise and put other things on this.
Yes,
So
sir.
that would be on the back sheet, or is this other sheets, or how would you divide that up on the sheets?
Typically for clients that are actually doing advertising, they do an additional insert, which becomes a separate piece of paper. The advertiser would provide you with camera-ready artwork. We integrate it into the process, and then we print it along with the bill. And some clients actually will personalize that insert. So again, it's as much technology applied to the process as you want. We also have an information box, which typically clients would use to inform citizens of current events with the community, or remind them that something's coming up. You know, street cleaning often in cities is a thing in the summer. If you have a summer festival you want to invite people to, if you're changing format for trash hauling or
Okay, and the cost, that's really important.
It's about, I think, I don't have the proposal with me, but it's about 12 cents per bill. And what that gets you is it gets you the document printed both sides in full color. It gets you an outer envelope, and it gets you a response envelope. Some clients, to reduce paper, are dropping their reply envelope, and I don't have a strong opinion about that either way. I do have one client, the city of Chicago, that did a study, and for their city sticker program, which has changed in the past couple of years, but when it was running as an annual city sticker program, mailing out the city sticker applications, they were only getting 3% of those reply envelopes back. And I'll tell you that they're still sending them out. I have other cities that are like, we're not going to put them in. They'll start with us and they will not put them in, and they don't want them in. And again, I don't have an idea whether that's good or bad, but you're certainly welcome to not include a reply envelope.
Any other questions?
And what about the second sheet, if we decide to do a second sheet with advertising, or how much that's another 4 or 5 cents?
It's typically 3.9 cents for a two-sided full color sheet for each additional sheet. And in the neighborhood, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say we work with Park Forest, Linwood, Anthony, and Homewood in the neighborhood, who I think would all give us good references. And I will say that we've been in the government space for some time, and we haven't lost a client yet because of performance.
Yeah, this document here, this is actually pretty much how it will look. Besides,
It's still a work. It's a work in progress. It's not final by any means. We wanted to get you something to get started, and so this is where we are. And it's again, it's a virtual form. So anything we want to change, we can change. Even after you decide, if you hire us, after you decide what it should look like, you change your mind in 6 months. We can change anything you like. The only thing that needs to stay in place is the outbound return address and then customer's address. We do use a double window envelope.
Are there any contracts that we have? In other words, is there a year-to-year contract, or are you asking for multiple-year contract?
Yes and no. We have a standard contract. Some cities, and I will say, Mr. Mayor, that however you want it to be is how it will be. Our contract has a lot of words and boils down to 2 sentences. So it might be 1 sentence. If you don't want to do business, or we don't want to do business, either of us have 60 days to choose that. There's some other technical terminology. We have some wiggle word language that clients often cross out that says we can raise the price incrementally if paper goes up. I haven't had a price increase as a client in 7 years. So if you want to have a contract, we can write a contract with whatever term you'd like. We just did one last week where it was first year, then automatic renewals. I have other clients that want to do a PO. Since we're in the money stream, typically we'll end up getting paid. So, if you're more comfortable with the contract, that's great. And if you're not comfortable with the contract, that's great with me as well. Or some variation of that. I'm sorry, that's too wide. That's too open of an answer. We do have a contract if you'd like it.
No, I'm just kind of.
It's a good question.
Yeah. And your turnaround time again?
Typically in the utility bills, it's 2 days. So if I got the data today, and the data means, before midnight, preferably during the course of the day, because if something goes sideways, my guys are working on it up until probably 6 o'clock. So if we got the data today is Tuesday, we'd have it in the mail on Thursday, and your folks would have it on Friday, in general. I don't work at the post office, so I don't know what their delivery schedule is, but typically it's going to be one day in this local area.
How do you determine if you get late fees?
You can either include it in the data stream, or you can tell us to calculate it.
Okay, so we're sending a second notice to residents if they haven't got paid, and they'll send out a second notice.
Yes, we'd love to. And that is another thing that, I'm answering these questions way too softly, but I'll say this anyway. Some cities have us do the second notice. Some cities will have us do a third cutoff notice. They're much too polite. The majority of cities will say, here's your bill. 20 days later, we send out a late notice, which is also a shut-off notice. And some cities reserve that in-house because of their own mindset about it, but eventually they end up turning it over. We have an online system where you'll know everything that's happening all through the process. Soup to nuts, you can see, is it being printed, is it being inserted, has it gone to the post office, was there any exceptions, were there any reprints? We're zero defect. So typically what that means is that in your process, you'll have 1 or 2 or 10 bills that will get crushed by a machine, stepped on by an operator. That is when they happen. That was a bad example. But it goes into a reprint queue based on we put an ID number on each bill. We don't rely on the work of the operators to type in a name or anything. So there's an SRID, which is typically a 5-digit number. They scan that barcode, it goes back into the reprint queue, and those, let's say it's 3 bills, will go out the following day because they have to be reprinted. They have to go through a workflow to make sure that they're accurate and they reflect what it's supposed to happen, has happened.
How do we get notifications when, we had a problem, especially with the owners of the property versus the occupant. So, I would see it just a suggestion that we find some kind of way to incorporate the both name, because a lot of these occupants are getting the bills and they're not being paid, and the landlord hasn't had to pay the bill. So somebody should notify the landlord, in other words, sometime or another.
We could do that. We have clients that do duplicate billing for the owner and the renter. Especially if the renter is responsible for paying the bill, the owner wants to know that it got paid. So that it all depends on how we design the process. So if you push us data for both people, we will mail both. If we don't get that the data file stream, we will not do it. The other thing that happens in our world typically is that if someone has a number of multi-unit buildings, so John Smith owns 20 different apartment buildings, we put those in one envelope instead of sending 20 pieces of mail to him. It saves you postage, and it saves him frustration of opening all that mail and wondering why you're wasting the money.
Mr. Finch just stepped out, but I thought one of the points with potentially changing over to this was the fact that we were no longer going to issue late notices. I thought that was something we were contemplating eliminating, and instead putting that on here to say, if not paid by,
I was just getting ready to say
then there would be a late fee, and then if not paid by that date, then cutoff date is X. Because otherwise, how would you know when to send out late notifications? Because really, you're the mailing agent. You're not tracking when payments are being received, because we're still doing all of that work, right? The other question I have then is, are we still going to keep with doing bi-monthly, or are we considering going to monthly billing?
that was something that I was going to bring up to him and ask him because we were contemplating on going monthly. It would take a lot of burden off the residents paying but then with that being said, it would be kind of difficult to set a late notice, because if the late notice says that you're going to pay in 20 days, And those 20 days is almost ready to send out another notice. So on the bill itself, it would let you know that after a certain date, the water be cut off, and that would be the only way that, you know, because we were thinking about trying to go monthly. Because it was, you know, this way it would be a less burden on the residents to pay every month than to come up with every other month with a higher bill.
Smaller bills are better.
Yes.
We'll do it however you'd like to do it.
Okay.
Monthly is more and more what cities are doing, and we can incorporate, I would suggest that at some period of time, if that notification, you set out a late notice currently?
Yes.
I would let them know that you're no longer going to be setting a late notice before you just cut them off.
Correct.
And you do door stickers or anything like that to let people know that, or is it just when it gets the shut off?
When they get
the door hanger or something?
Actually mailed to them, yes.
Okay, so that would be my only concern, is that we let them know that that policy is changing, so that, you know,
Yeah.
your frequent flyers are not, they're responding, we're all responding to the stimulus we have. So they are paying when they get that late notice, for whatever reason. So now that we're not going to send a late notice, you just want to make sure that you tell them that they're getting cut off, they're not getting a late notice.
Correct.
One more question for you. If we were to skip the reply response envelope, how much would that save us per envelope?
It's about $0.015.
Any other questions? This is something that we will have to bring up in the near future, as soon as we get because I don't want to do it and we do 2 months. If we're going to do this, we're going to make sure that has to go forward. So that should be pretty soon. Hopefully by the next board meeting or meeting after that, by the end of the month, we can, revisit that, then we can go from there and we'll let you know.
Great, thank you, Mayor Burgess.
Thank you.
Good luck with the decision. Also, I should have put in the conversation, 30 to 60 days to get something set up. There's testing involved, there's a process. You know, we worked on your sample bill, but that's not complete. So just keep that in mind if you want to start. If you said yes today, and you didn't say yes today, it'd probably be July 1st. I don't know if you meant beginning or the end of the month or what, I can't remember what you meant. But just figure, let's just say 60 days.
Right.
Because I get in trouble when I try to squeeze it in. Okay.
Yeah, we have to form a residence. That's going to take a minute too.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Can I ask one question for you?
Yes, ma'am.
And the penalties and payments, like, say for instance, they can't something like that, it says somewhere in the
It will be exactly as we decide that it's going to be. And typically, it's either pushed through the data or you tell us what the calculation is and what the verbiage is to identify the penalty. So very common in water bills, the penalty is 10%. Some cities have us calculated because 10% is really complicated to calculate. And some just push it through with their data feed. We're not invested either way. As long as there's a business rule wrapped around what we're doing, and then, we go through the process where you review and approve what you believe you told us to do, then it's good. And whatever's easiest for you is what I want to do as far as like the calculations or any of that. But it's a pretty straightforward process, and we've done it many times.
I see we have total, as far as per gallon, it's going to be listed.
It could. This is. I will say that this is probably dummy data, because I'm pretty sure we have no data from you yet. So this is borrowed data from another form. We just, my designer is pretty good, but I gave her very little information to work with to get this set up. So it's a work in progress, let's just say that. Okay, thanks very much. Anything else? I don't get to talk on a mic, this is so exciting. Thanks very much.
Be careful what you ask for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, accountant service proposal will be presented by our interim finance and treasurer, Mr. Finch.
Good evening, Mayor, Clerk, and Board, and residents. What I'm kind of briefly discuss is a proposal, one of the proposals that I got, as you guys are aware, eventually it's going to need a full-time finance director, as well as maybe potential accounting firm to assist with the bookkeeping and record keeping of the village. So what you have in front of you is one of the companies that's very well respected in the state of Illinois as well as the nation. They do a lot of work for all kinds of municipalities. But more importantly, what I wanted to draw your attention to is, as we get ready to prepare the budget, make sure that you guys are aware of the cost that is associated with getting a good accounting firm and a good accounting team to come in and do the necessary work that is done. Tickets is one of the companies that I did get a quote from, and it's about 17 pages of their history, which I'll be emailing to you guys this evening, as well as John, I can't say his last name, something like that. Casper, there you go, thank you.
Oh.
He gave me a quote as well. Trying to get one more, because one of the things I was trying to do is get 3 quotes to compare, so that no one can see that I'm being having any kind of favoritism. I do like Sickich, mainly because of their history and the detailed nature of their reports, and also they provide assistance as far as training throughout the year. Because what you don't want to do is get caught in a situation where you rely on a company like Sickich, and they be here 2, 3, 4 years from now, because that's going to cost a very steep amount of money. So just to bring that point to full circle, if you look at the middle of this fee schedule that they proposed, just for the accountant from Sickich, it's $136 per hour. For a senior accountant, someone like kind of my level, would be $155 per hour, going all the way up to $315 per hour. So you figure, on average, it's going to take a good accounting firm $20 to $30 per week to do the necessary work that needs to be done. So like I said, I want you guys to just briefly look at the numbers, play around with it, because as I prepare the budget, that's something I'm going to put in the budget. And just to forewarn you, it's going to probably be a nice sum of money to have a firm like this in until you guys find a full-time financial director, as well as other people to help out with what needs to be done and the questions you guys have asked before. So that's all I just wanted to pretty much get your attention, just give you a forewarning as I say prepare the budget. So I'll take any questions at this time.
So they're gonna be actually doing.
Use the mic, please.
They're gonna be actually doing what for us?
Right now, Sickets primarily would do what they call accounting services, which will range from anything from budgeting, bank reconciliation, cash flow analysis, anything that relates to internal accounting work. They do not do an audit as a separate transaction. An audit firm cannot be your accounting firm, and an accounting firm cannot be your audit firm because of conflict of interest. No, they would just prepare the reports and the financials and give it to whoever's in charge of the particular department, so that the financial.
Do we have something in writing from them?
Yes, I'm gonna send you this 17-page report proposal.
Every night?
Yes, you'll have that this evening. They'll give you the history, some of the clients that they work with, the city that they are involved with, and just the details about who they are as far as accounting professionals.
Who's gonna be doing reconciliation?
Right. We can't hear you, Bernice.
I'm sorry, who's gonna be doing the reconciliation? You know, we have a lot of problems here at, you know, we've been having a lot of problems. So who's gonna do the reconciliation? Are these the proposed people?
If you bring them, this is twofold. The reconciliation should and can be done in-house, but because of the, in my opinion, the stress and the quickness of information that's being asked for, the in-house staff, and myself included, can give you the information as quickly as needed. So a company like Sickich, they have one task and one task only. They don't have to do with any day-to-day operation. So they would do bank reconciliation, that's their particular task, because that's all they focus on. They come in, they do the 8 to 10 hours, and they're done. They don't ask any questions. They don't get involved with the political day-to-day operation, none of that. So Preferably, you have your internal staff do it, but because of the components that's in place now, I don't believe the staff will be given the amount of time needed to get where it needs to be as far as actual record without question being challenged as far as their delay in bankruptcy issue. So it's twofold. Ideally, I would prefer that the in-house staff do it, but because things have been pushed tightly together, I don't think it's fair to myself or the team to try to get something done in 13 months that really should have been done a few years ago.
So how soon do we need to have someone come in and do this work so that we can get the the year kind of closed up and so that we can start working on get what we need to get done for the audit? Yeah, that's fine.
That's the question. If you want the staff to do it, and like I said, it'll take time. No, very few villages can honestly say they get an audit done by October. Those that get an audit done by October probably got a staff of 6 to 10 people in that office. Sauk Village, and like a lot of other smaller cities, do not have that luxury. So I think a lot of it is education on the process of how finances work. So if the expectation to get an audit done by October, to i.e. not pay those penalties, then a firm like this need to be here in July. With the understanding that when they come in, they're gonna look back at 2 or 3 years of history because they signed their name on a dotted line. And no CPA firm, as I stated earlier, is gonna jeopardize their license for any municipality. It's not worth the money that they get paid. So if the expectation to get an audit done by October, bring in signature. If the expectation is to allow, I think you guys have, Miller Cooper, to have time to maybe get the audit done by December, then let the internal staff get it and come in and do what they got to do. But you still need at least one person to help with the bank records that get caught up from last year.
So how much is the monthly fees?
You figure at the low end, county, was that $136 an hour?
So we're gonna have four,
No, this is, they only work, they have a senior person come in to do like an engagement or a scope of work. That person just coming in and meet with the mayor and everybody is $315 an hour. So that's going to be one charge. If you have just an entry level accountant, it's probably somebody with 2 to 3 years out of school, they're going to be $136 an hour. You just figure a minimum of 20, 25 hours per week for at least 3 months.
Use the mic, please. We cannot hear you back here.
can't hear you either. So it's my understanding that what you want to do is outsource the accounting services that we have been doing, finance director and the treasurer, or just the finance director?
No. What I ideally, what I would like to do is have someone help with the bank recs
Okay.
and get the bank recs.
Is that the treasurer or the finance?
That's the finance director.
Okay.
Once the bank recs are done, then we can prepare for the audit. But in that transition, what I also like to do is not have the pressure of getting the audit started to be done by October. Because you can't have the audit without the financial information. You can't have financial information that's unfortunately been wrong to correct it in a month. So it's going to take time to do something correctly to get good information to the auditors. One of the things that I gave you guys was the findings from the auditors. The reason it went year after year after year after year is because no one, in this case, financial director, corrected those things. It's going to take somebody to correct it. So if there's not the pressure put on the finance department to produce something by October, the finance department can get it done. But if the pressure is to get the audit started by October, then I'm saying it's not realistic to put that pressure on the staff who's going in and cleaning up stuff to make something right. The garbage in is garbage out. And we'll be back in the same situation this time next year, looking at the same audit, just a different year. So that's my concern.
Where are we right now with the bank recs? Complete as of when?
July 2018. So you have 9 months 20 bank accounts, which is 180 times whatever months left. So from July to now. Any other questions?
I really would like to know how much it costs. I
Right.
understand you said we're gonna get it, but, you know, monthly, how much this cost us monthly to do this?
Well,
Also,
the last person you
I
guys
understand
did,
136.
the last person you guys did, that I think was just 2 weeks ago, was 3,000.
A month,
In just 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks.
If you figure, you go to close to 5 to 6, 7,000 a month, and you bring in a company like Sauk.
And then plus we have to pay the additional staff to do the reconciliation of whatever they want to account, right?
Yes.
Any other questions? When do you need to get started with this? In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or?
Well, the first thing, it would depend if the board would give us a leeway to do it internally ourselves, then we have time. But if the board try to get it out by October, then we need to get this going by July. Because what happens, like I said, it's like you go into a new house. You're not just gonna go in a new house and not clean up and look and make sure everything's the way you want it. So they're gonna come in, they're gonna look at our system, the civic system, they're gonna look at the utility billing system. They do a lot of analysis to make sure that they start off with good numbers from last year. If they find something that's not up to what they think it should be, they're gonna question those. So that was probably start back in July. Ideally, a company like this take 2 to 3 months to get all their numbers done, and then be ready for the auditors. So, again, the first step is bank recs. We get somebody in to just start doing bank recs. That's the easiest task of all this. Once bank recs are done, then we go to the next stage of building the financial statements, the balance sheets, the income statements, and so forth, to get ready for the audit. And so, if we not rushing in October, then I say this will wait till August. If we rush in October, at the latest, we need to make a decision to have somebody out here by July.
Okay, so my question would be, if we got them to do the bank recs, and that would take, you said 3 months?
About 2 months, yes.
2 months, okay. After that, can we keep up with, in other words, we can do it in-house after that, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
The thing with the bank recs is, one, Village has so many bank accounts. So that makes it hard when you fall behind. Because we are behind, now you have to do so many 1 month just to get that month caught up. So in doing that, once you do a month, you're another month behind. So once you get it, or whoever get it caught up, then part of the month end closing process is by the 15th of, let's say, June, I'm working on May bank reconciliation. So that'd be a task, a process and procedure that they would be accountable to say, I have to have this done by the end of the previous month. The following month.
okay,
So yes.
okay.
You're talking $16,000 a month for just the account, at 30 hours a week.
Okay.
That's why we do it. They're not cheap.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna see both of them. See you, Cynthia and John this afternoon. But I didn't want to do all the details. My main purpose was to show you the dollar amount that's tied to bringing an outside firm in. So like I said, the task oriented, they're gonna come in, do a task, and that's it. I said my main purpose was to just explain the cost of bringing an outside firm in, so that as we prepare the budget, we know potentially what it's gonna cost the village to have somebody come in and do stuff like bank recs or other county function.
I sort of suspect that there's a lot of
Mike.
that I suspect saying that, you need to be done so you can have the audit ready for, August or something?
No, I don't want to rush.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't see the rush. I think that we should go as we generally are, have been doing. And once the new board comes in, that they can look at what's going on, because I believe there's a lot of stuff that's going on that hasn't been covered up, that has been, let's say, put on hold or not addressed. So instead of a new firm coming here and trying to figure out what's going on, I really believe it's going to take them a long time just to figure out what's going on with finance, that we should wait until, we decide on getting this new firm, so we can all be on one page, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense to have them start and then, if they choose to change it to something else, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, but, I mean, that's just my opinion on it, because outsourcing this at this time doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Give the 2 or 3 months, let us do what we've been doing, and let's start anew.
And I'm fine with that. I just want to say it to reiterate, it's not right now for you guys to pick a firm or not pick a firm. It's just, my whole premise was so that the finance team don't feel like we are pressured to produce numbers right away, because that's not realistic.
Right.
Because I just, from being here almost 90 days now, that seemed to be the expectation that although I think I'm good, we still have things we have to do to get caught up to speed. So I didn't want that pressure from this board or the new board to say, why, I don't want the question coming up in May or June, July, and saying, what out of it? And the answer is going to be, you don't have one. And those that ask those questions don't understand why we don't have one. Because it's not as simple as just going to your bank and putting out some money. It's a process. So this is all this is to explain. There's a process. We can do the track we're on now, which is myself and the staff, or we can accelerate it by bringing an outside firm. But if we bring an outside firm, just be aware it's going to cost you more than myself and the staff combined. So that's all I want to do. So if we don't have to have that over our head, hey, get the audit done in October, then we're fine. Because I believe we're more than capable. But I just don't want to come June, July, we're asked when will the audit start. Because I can tell you right now, this time starting in June.
Did you say you were gonna get other quotes?
I have 2 so far. I wanted 1 more. And I'm trying to get that from Baker Tilly.
So I don't think it's a question of whether this board or the new board comes in, approves it or not, because I mean, I think it has to get done either way. So I think that we should, make a decision as soon as possible, because again, to the finance director's, point, they have other duties every day that they have to do, so they can't go back and do all of this work and still do other work. But however, I will say, if we do decide to go and sit with or whoever else that gets this done, that, the finance team has some processes and things in place that going forward that they can't keep up, so when you get home again. Because I mean, to be 9 months behind, that's a lot. So, I mean, I don't know if, we need to do some more training, or whether it's really more I don't know what it is, but we have to do something, but we don't fall back and start again.
Part is the training, and then also getting familiar with everything. Like, I give you an example, as Trustee Rose just mentioned. There's stuff that we're uncovering that we're fixing. And one of those is in the utility water system. So we're putting process in places to prevent some of that, but at the same time, it's taking time to make sure we're not being too hard on residents, but at the same time being firm. So it's those little things that right now are painful, but we have to do, like you alluded to earlier, Trustee Brewer, about landlords not getting their water bill compared to the tenants getting their water bill. Well, one of the things we're finding out is because it's not tagged like that. That impacts my financials.
Yeah.
When it impacts the financials, when the auditors come out here, they're gonna do a rough estimate, how many homes we have, times 12 months, how much we charge for water, that's how much estimated revenue we should collect. When they see that it does not happen like that, now the question comes in, well, if you're supposed to collect $3 million, and you only got $500,000, $1.5 million, why? So those are the processes we're trying to put in place so that we can track or be able to explain why this and why that is not what it should be as far as the financial one is concerned. So we do have things that we're trying to put in place right now, but it's gonna take time. It's gonna take some time and some getting used to it.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll look at this, pretty sure it's not gonna be a quick decision, so this will be something that will be presented, probably presented to the new board also, and move on, move forward with this, whatever decision is made to use in-house versus outside firm that we can, and I'm sure the outside firm, we can learn from them too, correct?
Yes, that's one thing I do like about civics is that they would train like, how you have a question for Sadura, they very detailed in the explanation of question, like what's this, what's that. Like I said, they do a lot, they involve with a lot of patient board. You, the actual partner, managing partner, you want to.
To use the mic, please, we cannot hear.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So to answer the mayor question, Sickness does do training, and as far as they go through the process and do work, they will let the staff know why they're making this transaction. Like, and I'm not trying to be too high level, but for instance, certain type of revenue is recorded differently. For sales tax, you might record sales tax differently than you do local use tax. The reason that it's important, again, when you get to the audit, if you record it incorrectly, it might show you have 13 months of sales tax, when in actuality you only get 12 months. But if you don't record it properly, then you overstate your revenue, which i.e. you say you got more money than you actually have, and now that creates a problem when you do the audit. Conversely, if you under-record it, you got more money in, but you're telling them those members that are looking at the audit, you collected less. So they educate on that sense to explain why this transaction is done, how the TIF actually work, how those bonds get paid back, and all those kind of things, that the nuances of finances that most people look at on a high level but don't understand the detail behind it. So they do train as they go out throughout the coursework.
What other municipalities, what other municipalities?
I know Sickets One is actually the financial director for Creek. He's actually the financial director. He's one of the managing partners. They did work with Markham, and I can't remember the other few, but they have a whole bunch of them. They're like the top 50 accounting firm in the state of Illinois. So, and then you'll see their bio. You can research online. That's why I wanted to go with a big, reputable company that has a reputation of doing things for certain municipalities. Any other questions?
Okay, appreciate the different aspects of going through this, and I'm sure we will be looking at this in the future, because we have to at some point in time take care of this, either be, taking and doing what we have, or getting a firm to come in, take care of everything, learn how to do it, and then go from there. Okay, thank you. I was remiss, I forgot, we do have to have a executive session. We'll do it right before public comment for review of executive board meeting minutes, correct? Okay. All right. The next item is a resolution authorizing the entry of an intergovernmental agreement between Cook County and the Village of Sauk Village for Phase 1 engineering services. This is Ms. Maggie Jar, our staff planner, and also Joseph Wiswide, the Director of Economic Development and Communities. Thank you.
Mike?
Is that mic on?
I'm going to give you a little background as to where this project was and where we are today, and then Ms. Jar is going to go through where we're going to go. So back in 2016, the village board at the time did not support a shared pathway project, which would have been from 394 over to Bloom Trail and then south over to Maryburn. So that wasn't supported, and there was a reason why that wasn't supported. One of the things is that the village would have taken lead on that project, which meant that the village would have had to have paid the upfront costs and then get reimbursed on the back end. So shortly after the mayor took office, discussions began about how, if we could resurrect this project. So the village of Steger was very interested in getting this done, as well as Cook County. So one of the things that the mayor said was that, in no way is the village going to put any money out on this project because we don't have the money to put out for this kind of project. But realizing that it was an interesting project, it makes sense if we can, continue this project and not have to put that money out. So we began negotiations with the village of Steger. The village of Steger said thanks, but no thanks. We don't want to put out the money either. So discussions went back and forth with staff and with Cook County Highway Department, and the superintendent at that time agreed, yeah, we'll take lead on it, which great, meant that they took the financial responsibility away from both villages. So we agreed on that in principle, that they would do that. What the project is that we're looking at now is a phase 1 engineering study for the project. The total cost on that is about $156,000, of which CMAC, not to be confused with CNAP, CNAP is going to fund 80% of that. It's
Congestion mitigation and air quality.
Thank you.
Federal program funding transportation.
We cannot hear one word.
The project is funded through CMAQ, which stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. And it's a federal program which funds transportation investment projects.
Thank you.
So the other 20% would be coming from the match from Cook County. So the village doesn't have to put up any money on the phase 1 engineering. So the total amount would be about $156,000 for that project. So the intergovernmental agreement that you have before you tonight is in draft form. We're waiting on finals from Cook County to come back. I'm going to turn it over to Maggie, and she's going to tell you where we're going to go from here and how this all works out together.
Great. All right. So that was some great background information on this project. What I want to highlight there is that there was never, it didn't sound like there was ever any disagreement about the merits of the project. It was just back and forth having to do with who would be the lead agency. Would it be the village? Would it be the county? Who was going to take on the responsibility to lead the phase 1 engineering services? The village was the lead applicant, the village of Sauk Village, the lead applicant for the CMAQ application. What the IGA is doing is signing over the lead agency responsibilities to Cook County. So it's the formal acknowledgement of what's already been discussed, that Cook County has agreed to take on the responsibilities to pay the upfront costs, for which they'll be reimbursed through the CMAQ program. They've also committed to providing those matching funds, which is 20% of the project costs for phase 1 engineering. The village will still have representation in reviewing deliverables for this project. Comments will be incorporated into final deliverables. We will then, through staff liaison, be able to report back to the board how things are going with this project. We're not just signing over all responsibility to the county, but this is very much a collaborative effort. And it's not a project that's happening,
independent of other transportation projects or kind of as a siloed project. We're looking at this as a way to connect the high school on the west end all the way to the forest preserve ultimately. The village was recently applied for funding through the Invest in Cook County program for another path which would connect the forest preserve on the east end to this project, and then ultimately all the way to the high school. So what I want to do for you all this evening is to highlight how this project speaks to the village's recently adopted comprehensive plan specifically. It's supportive of non-motorized transportation options, so we're looking at not only improving safety for pedestrians and bicyclists and students importantly, but we're also looking at this as a project that's going to help connect key destinations within the village. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the project or the IGA.
My first question is, and this is an important one, who is responsible for getting this grant?
The village was the applicant for the CMAQ project.
But who applied on behalf of the village to get this grant, to get the CMAQ monies?
It was before my time. I'm not sure who the lead staffers were.
I believe that might have been during the time of Tom Slattery from Baxter and Woodman at the time. I believe they would have been the initial applicant at that time.
Okay. And then also the, now this is just the engineering
Correct.
aspect of it.
Correct.
Which I'm sure every project has its own engineer, they have to have that file. Now, once we get with that stage and we get the engineering passed, the actual implementation, where is, I mean, because, okay, we have the engineering, but now what happens when we have the contractors come out and who's going to be in charge of those bids and accepting those?
That's a great question. We want to be sure that there's a plan for full funding for the project, and CMAQ would be a great potential for funding phase 2 services as well. So if this partnership works well, the relationship between the village and the county with the county as the lead, I think this is a great project to go back to CMAQ for that next phase of funding.
Oh, okay. Because I just wanted to make sure, I mean, y'all don't want to build a foundation, then we don't put a house on it or anything.
Correct.
Right, it doesn't make sense to do that. I mean, it's not going to cost us anything, but still, you know, you have the engineering phase done, but then what's going to happen, because as you know, I wasn't interested in being the lead, just in case something happens and the money didn't flow from the county like it should have flowed. And we got contractors out there and they want to get paid, so, you know, so that was one of the reasons, and I told Stager, okay, why don't you guys take lead? And that didn't happen, so it stalled, and then after that, the county, I guess, they claimed they were going to take care of the lead, but now I see now they feel now because of, and this is what I'm looking at, it seems to me, now that they got the money for engineering, all of a sudden now, okay, yeah, we'll take lead. So that's just want to make sure I don't want it long. And so you're asking us to basically go into agreement with CMAQ?
With Cook County.
With Cook County, okay, okay. And it was just for the engineering purposes, and then, I mean, I don't see anything that it says we have to put any funds, just a matter of us being the lead, not the lead, I'm sorry, us being the one that, the whole project needs to be, you know, so as long as we're not obligated to pay anything, that's fine.
We are not. And the IGA, we should highlight again, IGA is only discussing the phase 1 engineering services, which will be administered through this CMAQ project. Future phases of the project, I think we should certainly have that conversation with the county, but the village is not on the hook for either the upfront costs to be reimbursed through CMAQ or the match. The county is committed to funding the local match for this project, which is 20% of the project cost.
Okay. Now see, this is a draft, so can we send this to the lawyers, or?
We're waiting now on final comments from Cook County and South Suburban mayors and managers. If there are any major notes of departure from the draft we're looking at, we certainly want to highlight those for this group. But otherwise, then the draft will be ready to go for legal review.
Is it possible to get a copy of the grant?
Yes.
Or grant?
Mhm.
And also, we have a copy of the commitment letter from Cook County to provide us with one.
Yes, they are.
And also on this, page 2 of this, what is Exhibit B? I guess this, a state agreement that shows the, matching funds, is that the Exhibit B, or we'll get copies of all that?
Yes, we will provide copies of both the successful application to the CMAQ program and the letter of commitment from the county to provide those matching funds. Those will be exhibits A and B.
Okay, and also you indicated that, this was, I guess, initiated by Baxter and Woodman, the Phase 1 project. Is that not true?
Based on the information from 2016, Tom Slattery from Baxter and Woodman made a presentation on or about June of 2016. This was originally set up as an ITEP, which is an Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program. So he would have initiated the application at that time because the village staff did not.
So are they going to send out more bids other than Baxter and Woodman, or they're going to lead, state lead, or?
So since this is a project that will be funded through the federal program, CMAQ, the requirements are that the process go through what's called QBS qualified.
So we have at least 3.
Yes, absolutely. And with the, yes, there will be multiple bids received. And what I want to highlight too is that with the county taking the lead, they will be responsible for the administration and reporting requirements with this program, which can be quite onerous.
So basically, you're asking us to agree to move forward with this.
Correct.
And then quite naturally, when we get bids, that'll be something that'll be entirely different.
Yes, the county will be leading that
Right.
process.
Okay, they're
to
going to
take
be
the
taken care of.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
They're putting money out, so yeah.
It's their road.
Yes. So we have nothing to do with the bids. Just want to make that clear that that's not nothing that's up to them.
Absolutely. We'll be, at the table, and so we'll be able to report back on bids received and how the process is moving forward. But the county will be the lead
So
on
you
that.
just want the board to okay to move forward with this and, okay.
We're hoping to have the language for the IGA finalized this week.
Okay. Then they can-
The final should be in your packets for Friday.
Any other questions? Well, look, they should be here by Friday. Okay, well. Materials come on time. If the materials come on time, we'll put it on the agenda. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, we'll pass this. Is an ordinance adopting the 2019-20 compensation plan. This is something that's been done. I did not know that this hasn't been done in a while. But basically, it's for the employees in the village. On the last page, you'll see that it shows the annual salaries. This is something that's basically should be adopted every year. I didn't do it last year, but it should be adopted so it can be as a record of the salaries in the high and low range of salaries for different departments, positions. So, and then it's asking, well, the comprehensive plan is something that, like I stated before, this was done years ago. It should be done every year. It's almost like when you do your budget, but it hasn't been done in a while, so it's something that needs to be, homework that needs to be taken care of.
We can't hear the question.
I'm sorry. Okay, I can't read. Compensation plan. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can you tell me when the last time we got one of these?
That's why I said I haven't done one since I was mayor. It should be done every year. It should be advised, should be incorporated in the budget so you can know what ranges are in your budget, but it hasn't been done, so this is something that needs to be done. So when we do the new budget, that you have this in there, that you have something to reference to, and you'll see that it's pretty much self-explanatory that's in there. It shows you the ranges for different positions throughout the village and different departments.
Is it possible to get a copy of a compensation plan? I don't remember. I mean, it might be.
Like I said, I never done one, but I'm sure that, yes, I mean, we have to look at, to find out the last time it was done. I'm trying to think when I was trustee, did we do it? I'm sure, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I know for sure that we did, but it should be done every year and be part of it before you do your budget, so it should be part of that.
I've looked and I've not found one in a while.
What, did you remember seeing one at all? Oh, okay, well,
No.
we have to look it up.
No, so I've ever seen one, and so I think it's kind of, well, when you're saying that this should be done, and it's never been done that I can see,
Oh, okay.
can
Well-
this wait till the budget?
Well, I mean, you should have this
Till after our
done.
budget,
You should have this done before you do your budget, so you can kind of know what your parameters are going to be. That's the reason why you do that. But you say that you did, I have to check and look. We have to-
I mean, I find it kind of odd that we're doing this now, it's
Well,
never been
that's
done.
what I said, I didn't do it since I've been mayor, but I know it has been done. But we can get copies, I can find, we have to look and find out where the last time it was done. So I don't know, I'm not gonna sit and tell you, I know exactly when the last time, no, I don't. But I know a compensation plan should be in place, especially when you do the budget, so you can have a blueprint of what payments.
Is this, did our attorneys draw this up?
No, well, okay. Like I stated, this is something that should be done. I wanted everyone to see this. It doesn't have to be voted on right away, but it has to be, it should be part of the blueprint when you do your budget. So quite naturally, and I'll try to make sure that we, before the week is out, that we can get a copy of the last time it was actually done.
Because I don't think we should vote on this right away. I think
No, I'm
we
not
need to
asking to
look-
vote on it.
I'm simply asked, what I asked was this ordinance put through our attorneys? That's what I asked.
Anyone else have any questions?
I was just gonna comment, I think that when I look at the column to the far right, trustee Todd, I think these are actually all of those positions' current salaries right now. I don't think anybody's getting a raise unless I'm missing something. But I, just off the top of my head, those look like their current salaries.
And I'd like to see when the last ordinance was done, because I went through and I couldn't find it. I know what you're saying. But before we vote on this, I think we really need to look into it, like, when was the last one done? If this is something that should have been done every year and it's not been,
Well, and I don't know that that means that that's a reason why we shouldn't be voting on it. I think it's something that, you know, if one should have been done historically and hasn't been, then that's something that's unfortunate because not only this administration, but all of the administrations beforehand should have been doing it, but it doesn't mean that we probably shouldn't be doing it every single year as a board.
economic development.
Mike, please.
The position for economic development, was that a position from last year? I mean, I think we just came on board right before, Joe came, and it can't be more than 2 years old. The AP, payroll administrator, I know is new. So I'm just wondering, why is it so important to do what's the plan? The compensation plan, it has to have something, specifically in writing, some kind of plan. So now we have all these, 2 or 3 positions on here that has never been, included on this ordinance, but yet, you said this has been done historically, and, I don't understand how, this has been done historically when some of these positions are new, and, we don't have the original from it. So I would like to see the original and where you came up with some of these ideas. Well, whoever came up with some of these ideas, shouldn't say you, but whoever came up with some of these ideas. And also, I'd like to see the actual document that shows what the plan is. You named some of these positions here, but we actually need to know what their job duties are in the description, and where do they come up with salary. We don't have this salary pay scale, but yet we have a compensation plan. I don't think something's not right here. It seems like it's incomplete.
Okay, first of all, it's the compensation, which means that for these jobs, it's not that these jobs are, some of them are new, some of them are already there, they're already here, some of them have been here for a while. That's not what a compensation plan is, to have a job description. This is to let you know just how much you're paying in salaries each and every year. You should have something in place to know what's your compensation. In other words, how much you're paying a employee here in the village. That's what it, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and that should come in a written form, plan. The plan should describe what the positions are and how much where the salary fee schedule come from. You just don't bring us out of the sky,
There's nothing. This is what you're paying each and every person. Now, it's not out of the sky.
Okay.
It's not out of the sky. It's not something someone made up. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. This is what you're paying right now. This is what the employees are getting paid at this particular point. I'm just saying that money should be somewhere incorporated before you do the budget. That you should say, okay, well, this is what we're paying right now. This is how much we're paying in employee wages at this particular point in time. And so when you have a compensation plan, you show what your expenditures are. And that's all that is. It's not, well, what is their job description and why should they get paid this and why should they get, that's not what, we're not doing. That's not what this is about. To vote on that, it's just to show that this is what is being paid right now. So then when we do the budget, when the budget is done, you have some blueprint to say, okay, this is what we paid last year in salaries and everything that's here, and this is what we have to work with, or this is what we got in. This is how much money we in revenue, but this is our expenditures. Basically, that's all it is. It's not how did this job get here, and when did this one come, and why are we doing that? This is what we're paying. This shows you right now what we're paying for each one of these positions that are in the village, each person is working. Now, you can see that some of these are collective bargaining agreements, which means we're in collective bargaining with these particular people that we're doing. So we can't give a set salary because right now we're in collective bargaining with them. So how will we know what's going to happen? But we can find out what they're getting paid now, but we can't say what there's going to be, or a low and a high. That's why it was put in per collective bargaining agreement, because some of the people that are in there get a step raise. That's not, after so many years, they get so much more money in certain departments. But it's not something that we need to find out if this person is qualified or what are their job duties or why should we, you know, be paying all this? This is what we're paying right now. So it's not that, it's just, I'm just bringing this to the board, that this is what we're paying right now for these particular duties or these particular jobs, so we can kind of have a blueprint when it comes time for us to do the budget.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, only thing I want to say about this is that we have been on board since 2017.
Mike.
We have been on board since 2017. This has never came up. And for us not to know what the step increases are going to be each year, something's not right. It's incomplete. Something else needs to go along with that. I'm not quite sure what it is, but for us, for this just to show up with all these positions,
This is not brand new. These positions just didn't show up.
Mr. Mayor,
They never show.
Mr. Mayor, this is what the trustees supposed to be debating. I don't know why you're even interjecting all these things. I'm just saying what I think, okay? If no trustee has to want to debate with me, then I don't understand why you even use expression. Saying it's been, I know.
It should have been done.
You know, I want to know what the compensation plan is. There has
I
to be
just
something
explained
in
it to you
it,
in
and
the
what you
compensation
just give
plan.
me does not make sense.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
So that's my.
Okay.
So let's move on.
So trustee Brewer, so all these positions here, I think as the mayor said, we already have them. So we're gonna put them, say for example, Kevin Weller, Director of Public Works, will put a salary in the budget, and that's what said, that's what he gets paid.
You gotta speak up.
So that's what he gets paid, $85,000 a year. So, I mean, the compensation plan is basically listing the employee's position and their salary. That's pretty much it. As far as step increases, I think that's something separate, and that, you know, obviously next year, there's no plan for step increases. That's what it looks like here, based on how the salary does not change from where it says low to where the new salary is going to be for the new year. So I don't see any step increases for anybody unless I could be wrong. But it seems like what they're getting paid now, they're pretty much going to be paid the same thing again next year. We're just putting it in writing now, so that way that when we go to do the budget for next year, that it's pretty much saying, hey, this is what the chief makes, and this was going in the budget.
Any other questions on regards to this? I thought it would be pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, we're not adding anything, we're not giving anything, we're just reporting, being transparent, as I was told that it should be, being transparent and let you know exactly what each and every person is making here. And that should be part of your basis when it comes time to do the budget, so you can kind of know where you're at versus where, you know, what we have. We have X amount, and that's very easy. But to say that this is, I said that at the beginning that I've never done it, but it has been done over a period of time. When the last time it was, I'm not sure, but I know it was done, because this is a compensation plan to let everybody know what these jobs, what we currently pay in the budget, and that should be done every year before you do a budget. I'm just doing due diligence now. I stated that I didn't do it in 17, and before the budget, you know, because when I came, I didn't do it. So now I'm trying to make sure you try to be transparent, or I'm trying to be transparent. Now it seems as if that's not enough. So I really don't know, but this is what it is. This is what these particular positions are being paid, and that's what I think I can say. I don't know what else to I don't even know how.
Residents did ask about that.
It hasn't come to public comment yet, and I won't answer comment. Just blurt out, because now that shows that you don't have respect for this board at the time, so, which is probably true. So, but I'm just asking the board to look at this, to adopt a comprehensive plan, so we have something when it comes time to to put the budget together. And that's it. I mean, it's nothing that can be changed. That's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing that can be changed. Not at this particular point in time. I mean, it is what it is, but at least it shows what it is.
Should this go on next week's agenda?
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I was just asked to wait until, if it's all right with the board, we'll do the executive session after public comments, so at this time I'll take public comments.
Give me a minute, please. Sure.
Judy Castier, this is the second time you've spoken to me about disrespect. I respected you and was loyal to you for over 10 years. You want respect, Mayor, you give it. Sitting here trying to talk to you week after week, and you look down and won't even look at us, is not respectful. Not answering our questions is not respectful. We asked at budget time about all those employees being individually posted like they were before. You refused to answer us why you did it the way you did it. We did bring it up to you, and I'll find the damn video that'll show it. I'm concerned about our FOIAs. I'm concerned about the fact that you ask a question and you get 10 days later get an answer that the paperwork does not exist. I'd like to know how you hire somebody without an application or resume or doing any of the paperwork, because the answer I get is there is no paperwork. So how do you pay somebody that doesn't have any paperwork? And it's not just one, it's not just once in a while. I got a folder full with me. So, either somebody doesn't know what they're doing, or their paperwork is being shredded, but something's wrong that we can't find out about what's going on when we want to know something. You sat there and you told me it was not a problem to get a resume to see what the background was of an employee. It's 2 years later, I'm still waiting for it. I put it in a FOIA. The FOIA says paperwork does not exist. So I'd like to know why we're even bothering. But I'm not going to give in that easy. And I will respect when I am respected. just say your name, not your address.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Rosie Williams Bay. I just passed out the last 2 water bills that came to my address. On the 12th of March, I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but on the 12th of March, I received my water bill for the bill year of March 8th, and it shows I have a credit of $9.73. At that time, I called the village hall after several attempts. Someone finally answered the phone, and I spoke with Doris at 10:13 a.m. I asked her about the credit. She told me that in fact it actually was a credit, and that I would not have a double bill last time. This was a correct bill. This is what it was. I verified that, made sure everything was fine. That was the case. The next day, the library, where I'm the director, got a bill of $453 and some change. Our average bill, like the bill we just got today, is $65. So, obviously, I questioned that bill. We had just had Public Works out 2 days before that to read our meter. So when I called and spoke with Doris again, Doris told me, you just had Public Works out. That is an actual bill. We didn't see any leaks. We didn't say anything, but since Public Works was just there, we weren't going to fight it. We wrote a check. I had 2 trustees sign it. I was here March 28th to pay the bill. At that time, I had my mother's water bill, 1 minute, and I had mine. They told me, I checked my credit. They told me I still had the credit. They told me the library's bill was wrong. So now the library has a $378 credit. But I verified my credit again. Told me that it was $9.73. This is the water bill I got today. It's a double bill. When I called to talk, I came to talk to Doris today. She told me that that was what the bill was. She doesn't argue with people with low water bills. I have to talk to Cynthia. She called Cynthia. She talked to Cynthia for 3.5 minutes. Cynthia said she was going to lunch. She'll come back at 1:15. Cynthia called me at the library about a different matter. Spoke with Cynthia. Cynthia then told me that this was the bill. Her system did not show a $9.73 credit. She has no idea where I got that from. I said I got it from my water bill. She said I'd have to speak with Mr. Finch. I said, fine. Can I speak with him? He's not here. I said, when is his schedule? I don't know when he works. I said, does anybody know his schedule? No, but you can speak with Dr. Strada. Done.
I'm sorry, what you just done is for everyone, and then you're.
Okay, I can wait.
Mayor Richardson. I sat here and listened to every word that was said in regards to what the mayor said and what some of the board members said. And I had asked all the questions around to different board members. Why, when the budget has been done in Sauk Village, nobody's paid, nobody's, nothing is in minutes. Nothing is told to us to see where the money is going. So somewhere along the line, something has been missed, as the mayor has said. He said he didn't do it. I can understand. That means down the road, that means some other mayors have missed it. Everybody's budget, each individual budget, let's just say you have the water people, you have the maintenance people. Everybody has something to do with the budget. But if nothing is done, or nobody's telling this person how this money is getting dealt with, we're going to always have inconsistencies. Money's never going to be right. The budget's going to always be off. So to have him say, I didn't do it, at least he's being transparent to say, I did not do it. But now we need to back up and find out when it wasn't done. When did it actually start not being done? So we can get a hold on it to know everybody's pay. So we know what we're paying out each and every year in our budget. I have to do it. now. But I mean, everybody should be doing something. I'm just finding out today that I have to do it with lawyers and accountants. So let's do things the right way and not keep fussing about the same things. Let's back up and see where it started at and then go forward.
W. Williams. I think that part of the problem with the ordinance is when we first see it, we look at it as if it's putting the ordinances, carving them in stone. If I understand what I'm hearing, those are the salaries that are being paid now to a range of what they could be. But what I'm concerned about with the new budget coming out is, does that mean that those salaries are carved in stone? Because there may be some salary reductions or some employees that may no longer be a part of that budget. I'm just hoping that that ordinance does not mean that those salaries cannot be decreased, because I know through budget discussions in the past, we've talked about furlough days and 10-20% across the board. Whatever the budget is going to require, I just hope that that ordinance doesn't lock us into those salaries. I think that's part of the confusion. And second of all, I'm really glad to hear the water billing is coming back. We proposed that several times in previous administrations, and it was never voted on favorably. I think it's a great idea because people lose their postcards. It's easier to get an envelope in the mail, and I think it's a more consistent thing. But what I'm concerned about is the water billing problems that we're having right now. We've had people getting bad water bills since the beginning of the year. Rosie was just up here talking about it. And when people come to the village hall, Rosie didn't get a chance to say just how rudely she was treated when she came here to talk about it. It's a problem. We need to take a handle on this water situation. Why aren't these bills going out correctly? Why aren't the people who are handling the water bills, why don't they know more about what they're doing as far as how they can explain to somebody why this bill was wrong? When the library, of which I'm the president, got a bill for $400, and we came here to try to figure out why do we have a $400 bill? We were told that's your bill. Public Works came and said that's your bill, and we paid the $400 bill, and now we have a $300-something credit. You know, that's the library. We have a little bit more funds than their average resident. So if a resident was told they had a $400 bill, they'd have to pay their bill or they would get their water shut off. So I think we really need to get a handle. Before we turn this water billing over to another company to send out our bills, I think we need to keep it in-house and we need to find out what's going on. But with all of this outsourcing we're doing, with outsourcing payroll, outsourcing water billing, all these other things that we're trying to outsource, I don't see the need for as many employees or as many full-time employees. We haven't replaced our union employees with union employees. We've replaced them with non-union employees. So personally, what I think we need to address when the new board comes on and the budget talks start is we need to talk about salaries. We need to talk about how we can cut fat in the budget. Because I'm still confused how it's being said we're $2 million in the hole. That's something we need to tackle early on. So that's just my opinion, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate you explaining the fact that it hasn't been done in a while, but I think the reason it has been done is so that we know going into budgets what our salaries are, because those salaries may have to be adjusted in some kind of way. It's something we may have to think about. Thank
you. Far as the public getting a hold of someone's resume, we cannot do that. We cannot give out a resume for a job publicly. That's their private information. They give it to us privately. I mean, to give that resume or put that resume out to the public, that the village cannot do that. As far as the water bill questions, I'm sorry that you had a bad experience, but Mr. Finch is here and he's going to, and he heard everything you said. So, that being said, after the meeting, he can either schedule an appointment to go over that because we've had a few problems with the water bills and to find out what the problem is, because we had at one time something was glitch. I don't know where it came from, but they were actually charging people. They were actually, what they were doing was, if you paid your water bill last time, they would subtract that from what you pay, what you're supposed to pay this time, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. So you're supposed to pay a water bill every 2 months, X amount of money. Not what you paid last time, subtracted from this time, that means you paid nothing, and that's not true. So, but I'm not going to try to explain the whole thing, but that's just a concise thing that I know. And then as far as the bill is concerned, I'm sure he'll be able to answer those questions for you. As far as the budget is concerned, I mean, I would think that you would want to know how much your expenditures are, and that would be the best way of doing it, how much your contractual expenditures, in other words, your salaries are. But I do take exception that a person would stand up and say, we're going to cut, and, you know, that right there is premeditation, so I don't know. But the salaries that you see are not carved in stone. No, they're not. It's just a template, as I said before, of what we're paying now. So no, that compensation is not something that is a contractual, that we have to do that. It just shows you what we are spending on employees at this particular time. And hopefully that in the new board that comes on, I was looking at trying to make water billing once a month instead of every other month, because sometimes it may be a hardship to people. So when it does happen, like I said, the board is going to be involved, the board is going to vote on it. But it's just something to think about, that we're looking for and looking in the future to do it every month. It would take a burden off of some people, and everyone, I mean, your bill will be cheaper every month. But you won't get 2 bills, you won't get a late notice, because you won't have time to send a late notice. By the time you send a late notice, the other one is coming. So, but I'm sure there's something we're going to be researched. With that being said, we do have an executive session that we're going to talk about, so I'll accept the motion to go into executive session. It's moved by trustee Grant, second by trustee Brewer. Now, clerk, this call.
Trustee Brewer? Yes. Trustee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee